The Commander-in-Chief oversees all gameplay. Um, they make sure that all the graphs and all the equations for the graphs are correct. The Commander-in-Chief also places all of the landmarks on the main game board, which is a coordinate plane. And also the Commander-in-Chief is the one that reads out the scenarios that happen during the course of the game. The General is the only one that has communication with the Commander-in-Chief. The General is also the one that graphs the platoon's movements on the main game board, which the entire class can see. Each of the platoons will have a captain. So in the game, we will have a total of 2 captains, of course. The captains communicate with the general. So what the captains do is they have the final say as to what movement is going to happen on the graph, or what graph is going to be used to move. The captain is the one that writes the equation, and then the equation is given to the general, which then the general puts or graphs that equation up on the main game board. The rest of the students are part of the platoon, so they are the individual soldiers in each of the platoons. As far as their decisions, they can advise the captain, or they can put in their um, observations and what they think should be done, but ultimately the captain is the one that decides what is best for the platoon. These are the different graphs that the students will be using to move about the board. The first graph, the parabola, which is the y equals x squared graph, will be used to surround the enemy. The equation will determine the position of the parabola and how wide, how tight, or how loose the surroundment is. The other graph is going to be the line. The line is used for, or to set up the line of defense. Again, the equation will determine the slope of the line, which way the line is facing, and the position of the line. The y equals s cubed graph will be used to move the troops around the board. So if they need to get it to a different location, they will be using this graph or this equation. And once again, the equation tells puts the position of the troops on the graph. The last one, the y equals the square root of x, is used for the movement of medical personnel. So if they need to get to some injured soldiers, they will need to use this equation to get to them. And of course, again, the equation determines the positions and where to get to the injured soldiers. The platoons move about the board using the different equations that we just talked about. Depending on the scenarios, the platoons will be successful in either surrounding or capturing enemies, or they will be unsuccessful and they will suffer some casualties. That is determined by rolling a dice. A student is picked, and they are the radio person in the platoon. They are the ones that will be communicating whether the mission was successful or not. If they roll a low number, 6 or less, they will be unsuccessful, and then they would have to roll again to see how many casualties they suffered. If they roll a 7 or above, they will be successful, and once again they will roll again and to decide how many prisoners they took. Now, if the radio person rolls a double number, meaning one dice has one and the other one has one, or two and two, three and three, so on and so on, it's an automatic success and they will have taken the total amount of prisoners on the dice. So if they roll a 1-1, then they are automatic successful in the mission and they've only taken two prisoners, and so on. The game should take an entire period to play. At the end of the game, the platoon with the most points is the winner. The way that you gain points is by um, getting the most prisoners but the least amount of casualties. So each prisoner is worth 1 positive point and each casualty will be a negative point. So at the end of the game, the points are totaled, and of course the winner of the platoon that wins is the platoon that gets the most positive points.